Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be ranking in a tier list the top 12 2028 potential candidates for president. And we're going to be putting party aside, meaning either Democrat, Republican, does not matter. They will all be included because we're going to be using the ranked choice voting system. So basically, I'm going to be ranking this based on a ranked choice voting system, all the way from 12 at the very worst candidate, in my opinion. This is my opinion alone, all the way, as you can see, to my number one top choice, the best candidate. So we're going to be ranking the 12 from AOC, Representative of New York, Governor of California Gavin Newsom, Nikki Haley, former 2024 candidate for president, Governor of Michigan Gretchen Whitmer. You have Bernie Sanders, Senator of Vermont. You have Stephen A. Smith, which I made a video about earlier. You can go check that out. Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. You have Tulsi Gabbard, and then you have who's also currently in the Trump administration. Then you have Vivek Ramaswamy, former 2024 Republican candidate for president as well, just like Nikki Haley. Then you have the current vice president, J.D. Vance. You have the current governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. And then you have the current governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. Before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss on my content, press the like button, share this video. If you're interested, don't forget we have memberships. You can find the link to that in the description section. So out of these 12 candidates, let's begin with the absolute worst if this were a ranked choice voting system, in my opinion. So out of all these candidates, the worst is going to be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, representative of New York, who has recently been doing rallies and events with Bernie Sanders as a so-called progressive movement. I believe she is non-establishment. She's not an establishment. I would say she's more of a populist Democrat, not the one that I'm looking for. I do believe that Democrats need to take a populist route, and they want to go progressive route as well. But AOC is not the answer in my opinion. Now, she is good with Gen Z voters. She's good with younger voters, which will matter, which is, an upside of her for the Democratic Party. But when it comes to me, in my opinion, she's not a candidate I'm looking for. She's too much of a prop-up candidate, in my opinion, and she's kind of like a pick-me, and she's just giving those type of, vibes, and she's just basically a hyped-up type of candidate. I'm not looking for someone like that. I'm looking for someone that can get the job done, that has shown it before, maybe like a governor, possibly senator, not so much. I'm looking for more of a governor, not a representative, which is why I'm putting her at 12 at the very worst. And I also think she's too liberal for my liking. So at number 12 we have AOC, and at number 11 we have Governor of California Gavin Newsom. He is currently my governor, actually. Which, speaking of governor, Kamala Harris might actually replace him, but that's a different topic. Now, obviously, I have experienced, under his, administration currently as governor of California, and me personally, I don't like him. So I'm going to put him at 11. Now, what makes him slightly better than AOC is that, the way he talks is less annoying than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think the way, her speeches are pretty, just not the way I like it. So at number 11, you have Gavin Newsom. And he is at the top of the ticket so far. I mean, he's top 3 in terms of Democratic candidates for 2028. He's a progressive type of candidate they're looking for, just not what I'm looking for personally in a ranked choice voting system. He's at number 11 out of the 12 candidates. At number 10, you have Nikki Haley. I think she's one of the worst Republicans. Now, before she made the debate stage in 2024, she had a better chance. Obviously, she got second place in Republican primaries. But I think she's too soft. She's way too conservative. And I just don't think that she's a candidate. When it comes to a type of candidate that I'm looking for, it's not going to be Nikki Haley. She ran for in 2024. I didn't, like the things she said during, the debates. So at number 10, you have Nikki Haley. At number 9, you have current governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. What makes her better than the rest of the 3 candidates? I think Gretchen Whitmer is better than Nikki Haley. She's better than Gavin Newsom, and she's better than AOC. And the reason why is because I believe she can be, nonpartisan at sometimes. I mean, she won by a great amount of about 10 points in the 2022 midterms. She recently visited Trump in the Oval Office. And what I like about her is she's not too radical. Even though she's, a Democrat, she's not too radical. And I think there is some common ground. I like her speeches. I like how she connects to voters. And therefore, I place Gretchen Whitmer at 9. She is slightly better than the rest of those three candidates. And then at number 8, and she also has some common sense. And that number 8, you have Bernie Sanders, Independent Senator of Vermont, who has been doing rallies and events with AOC together. Honestly, they can be the top of the ticket. I won't be surprised if Bernie Sanders wins the nomination in 2028. If he runs, I know his age is a concern, and they don't want to have a Biden 2.0, but I think it's possible, 3 times the charm. And then AOC would be his VP. I also made a video about that. I don't think that's very far off from being realistic. I think that can very well happen. There is a chance. But Bernie Sanders at number 8, what makes him better than Gretchen Whitmer, Nikki Haley, other candidates up here, Gavin Newsom and AOC, is that obviously he is not liberal. He is a socialist Democrat. And I think he focuses heavily on, healthcare specifically. And I think other candidates haven't really been doing that lately. And he also focuses on, billionaires. He loves talking about that time and time again. And I think he attacks issues like greed when it comes to the billionaire class. And I think candidates need to focus on that. And he also talks bad about AIPAC, which is a concern because they're not being investigated for money laundering. And Bernie Sanders focuses on concerns that are very reasonable to me. So I think he's better than the other candidates up here. I'm going to put him at 8. And then you have at number 7, Stephen A. Smith, which could be a joke to a lot of you guys. He is he's considering a run for 2028. And I think he's honestly the Donald Trump of the Democratic Party. He's trying to pull a Trump. I just don't think he has it in him. He's not aggressive enough. I do like the way he talks. I think his speeches are pretty good. I think he can connect to a lot of voters out there, but we're not really sure who's going to vote for him. Yet again, does he have the money? Does he have the funds? Those are all questions. He might be an instant dropout candidate, but I'm going to put him at 7 because at least he has common sense. Most of these candidates already up here, and he's reasonable, so he's not the worst. I'm going to put him at 7. So basically in the middle of the pack, slightly better than a lot of these candidates up here so far. And then number 6, above all these candidates, will be Ron DeSantis, current governor of Florida. Now, before he announced he was running in 2024, he definitely had a huge chance of winning the primary in 2028. But because he ran, it significantly hurt his chances. And now it's looking like J.D. Vance will be the nominee in 2028. And also he split the votes with Nikki Haley, so that really ended up hurting Ron DeSantis. So he did make a mistake by running in 2024. I like some of his policies, but others I think are kind of too extreme, which will not get him elected, which is why it's a concern with Ron DeSantis in terms of electability. I don't think he's electable, especially in the Rust Belt. I think he's reasonable as well. I like the way he talks, but still, not the worst, not the best, better than the rest of the candidates below him, obviously. So at number 6, you have Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. And then at number 5, you have Tulsi Gabbard, who's currently serving in the Trump administration. What I like about her is that she is a former Democrat, and then she became a Republican. So she's been in both sides, which is another thing that I forgot to mention that I like in a candidate similar to Donald Trump, which is why I support him over Kamala Harris, is that he wasn't a longtime Republican. Obviously, he was a former Democrat. And what I like about someone is if they were obviously on both sides, so you can get a perspective that they have a liberal side to them and then they have a conservative side to them. And if they have both sides, they won't be that radical, which is what I love about Tulsi Gabbard. And I believe she was the representative of Hawaii. She served in her district. Obviously not anymore. She's currently in the Trump administration. But I think that she can connect to a lot of voters. I think she's very reasonable. She is not radical at all. She's not far right. She is a former Democrat. And I think she can win over moderates, independents. And I wouldn't call her a centrist, but she's at least close to that than majority of other Republicans, obviously. So I think she's pretty good. She's pretty decent. She will win over independents. At number 5, you have Tulsi Gabbard. And then at number 4, you have Vivek Ramaswamy, former 2024 Republican candidate for president. He is anti-establishment. He's a populist. He's an outsider similar to Donald Trump. I mean, Chris Christie on the debate stage called him Obama 2.0 on the Republican side, basically. Honestly, he does give Obama vibes. He kind of talks like him, just like Josh Shapiro actually sounds like Obama, which we'll get to later. But at number 4, you have Vivek Ramaswamy. He can connect to younger voters, Gen Z specifically, just like AOC, but I think he might be slightly better than AOC just because he's an outstanding speaker. Obviously, he had TikTok. He got a lot of views and followers on there. He could connect to Gen Z better than a lot of these older candidates up there. So I think he's a rising star in the GOP. At number 4, you have Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, I do think he's a little too extreme on some issues, like, for example, dismantling the Department of Education and other things like that. He might be a little too aggressive, so if he can calm down on that, maybe he'll rise on this list. And considering that he got, I believe, 8% in the Iowa caucus back in 2024 for his first time running, considering that was his first time running, I think he can definitely do better in 2028. And then at number 3, you have the current vice president. You have J.D. Vance. Now, before he was selected as Trump's VP, it was I didn't really like him that much. I didn't really know him too much. He used to be a Trump critic, not anymore. And the reason why he's not a Trump critic anymore is because he himself said that he used to watch too much of the media, and that's why he didn't like Trump. And now, obviously, he opened his eyes, according to him, and that's why he is no longer a Trump hater anymore. Now, J.D. Vance is obviously part of the MAGA base, so he would continue what Trump has been doing for ever since 2016. And I don't think that's a disadvantage, actually, going into 2028, because if he is a Republican nominee, I think that's a disadvantage, because I'm not sure if voters are going to want another 4 years of the previous Trump administration. Maybe they want a new path, a progressive Democrat, a centrist Democrat, a populist Democrat, which is exactly Josh Shapiro at number 2, which is why I have Josh Shapiro at number 2. If this was ranked choice voting, I would have him close to number 1, honestly. I have him tied with Glenn Youngkin, which we'll get to later. But if I had to choose number 1, I would choose Glenn Youngkin. But as for number 2, you have Josh Shapiro, current governor of Pennsylvania. He won his race by 14 points in a swing state that Trump won by nearly 2 points. So that's a shift of roughly almost 16 points in favor of Josh Shapiro. And he can win. That goes to show you that he can win over not only Democratic support, not only independent and centrist support, but also Republican support as well, which is how he exactly won by the amount he did in 2022, the midterms, by an amount of 14 points in a state that voted for Trump by nearly 2 points, which is why you can also argue that maybe someone like Andy Beshear could be good for the Democrats. But I like Josh Shapiro. I think he's an outstanding speaker. He talks similar to Obama, which I mentioned earlier. I mean, they have some common traits, but I think Josh Shapiro would make a great president in 2020, which is why, in my opinion, he's at number 2, and he is one of my favorites. I think he gives the Democrats the strongest chance, and he is very reasonable. He can win over basically anyone on either side of the aisle. And that number 1, like I mentioned earlier, you have Glenn Youngkin, current governor of Virginia. He's also a centrist. I think he is the Josh Shapiro of the Republican Party. And then you can say it can be reversed. You can say Josh Shapiro is the Glenn Youngkin of the Democratic Party. I think those are very two similar types of candidates. They are both governors in opposite states, literally, because Virginia voted for Kamala Harris, but they have a Republican governor. Pennsylvania voted for Donald Trump, but they have a Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro. So Glenn Youngkin and Josh Shapiro are actually very similar. And at number 1, you have Glenn Youngkin. What got him elected was the issue of education. He focused heavily on issues like education. And I think he would be good on certain social issues, and he could win over centrist independents, not only Republicans, and maybe a few Democrats, a good amount of Democrats, which is why he defeated Terry McAuliffe in the first place. And I believe Glenn Youngkin's approval rating is extremely high. I think he gives the Republicans the best chance of winning in 2028. So this is my tier list rankings of all the potential 2028 candidates for president, regardless of party. You have independents included, Republicans and Democrats all on this list, because if this was ranked choice voting, this would be my ranked choice list. At number 1, you have Glenn Youngkin. At the best, and at the very worst, you have number 12, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So let me know if you agree with my list, and if you were to make changes, where would you put these people? This is my exact list. You can take a look at it for yourself on the screen right now. Aside from which, one last final reminder is to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss all my content. Press the like button, share this video, don't forget we have memberships. If you're interested, you can find a link to that in the description section. Thank you everyone for watching.